When I am done with this video, I want you all to ask yourselves, who is the top martial artist? And should he be silent in the name of the illusion of humility? Or should he stress these truths in order to bring a world that is war-torn and slipping more and more into darkness, into the light? As well as adjusting reproduction in a way that is morally correct and preventing rape and sexual immorality and heinous crimes, sexual crimes, with the spirit of righteousness achieved through discipline, concentration, timing, and other transferable skills that can be applied into your life to help you to be successful in different areas of your life. Let's start with a quick review. Page 17, the early followers, warriors, were wearing a kilt. Okay. So first we must establish that the early followers were warriors. Okay, this is the esoteric, this is the original meaning, this is the true meaning of religion, right? What Jesus was actually getting at is the true meaning of, his religion, right? Him saying, I came to bring a sword, telling his followers to buy swords. This is not just, for the purpose of Peter, but for the purpose of people understanding the difference between living by the sword, which is symbolic of the spirit of righteousness and the divine order of heaven, but also to help you understand that, to live by the sword for worldly means and for what you think is okay is wrong. Even if you are Peter, who is going to be the rock, the stone which the church is built on, you need to follow the divine order. So does the Pharaoh. Page 61. If the Pharaoh should come to harm, the whole world order would collapse and the people themselves would necessarily die. And mind, body, and soul are connected. The spiritual harm is stressed. It's between the two yellow dots. Okay. Spiritual harm should be their main concern, but you can come to spiritual harm by people not loving and respecting the Pharaoh, which is, what it says above that. It says that Ra was supremely concerned with the welfare of his son, the Pharaoh, and was able to protect him against all attacks by his enemies. But it was also the duty of the people to love and respect the Pharaoh. So the line above that, right? They have to love and respect the Pharaoh. And this has spiritual, social, political, and even financial implications. But first and foremost, spiritual. And perhaps second, on creation, reproduction, since God is the creator. So we have established these things. Now, this is Master He El Sho, his book. I'll put the proofs at the end of the book. Read them in their entirety. Okay, he talks about mind and body. When your mind and body are harmonized, you will be much calmer. You won't be nervous, and you won't suffer physically. If your mind and body can be fused as one, you'll be much happier because you'll be understanding, accepting. Okay, you'll be understanding and accepting. As with any phase of life, you'll suffer if your mind is one place and your body is somewhere else. An instructor cannot just teach the physical or just teach the spiritual. There's no way you can accentuate body over mind. If you take away the brain, you are paralyzed. You no longer function. That means if you take out the brain and place it on the table, the brain itself will be useless. Notice how I started to use the body to help focus the mind, and it improved my reading and reduced my stuttering, etc. The brain and the body are one, and you try to harmonize the body and mind. Sometimes it can be very difficult, especially during martial arts training. There's so much concentration during forms practice. Your mind and body must function together. When sparring, if these two entities are a single unit, you will be difficult to hit. If not, you can get nailed by a slow-moving truck. I'll put these things at the end. This proves definitively from my perspective and from a martial arts Hall of Famer, 7th, 9th degree black belt, or whatever he is at the time of this book, that we see it the same way. These are unavoidable facts. Okay. It ends by saying, but if you're focusing, flowing, allowing your mind and body to become one, then sooner or later you're no longer thinking, just doing. You will do it automatically. Now, why is that? Could it be that my body improves my mind and the mind, body, and soul are connected? He even touches on the spiritual, right? An instructor cannot just teach the physical or just teach the spiritual. So if they're connected, then who has the most spiritual power and why? And what proves it? When sparring, if these two entities are a single unit, you will be difficult to hit. If not, you can get nailed by a slow-moving truck. So if you're big and strong and I can nail you without being as fast as I am, do you have the mind-body-soul connection, or have you just invested in the flesh? Straightforward MMA out the window. Straightforward presentation out the window. It's done in terms of what these things show relative to spiritual power. We'll overkill that later. Fighting. Many martial arts schools won't emphasize sparring. Some business people don't want to be hit hard in the face, while other instructors fear the possibility of lawsuits brought about by injury. But if you're not going to emphasize sparring, you must teach them self-confidence and self-control. But how can you expect true confidence without an emphasis on sparring? True confidence or courage? You won't know what a true martial art is and what it can offer you. You won't even know what a true martial art is, right? Truth, light temple, truth, and what it can offer you. You won't even know. You don't even know if you don't concede that sparring is the way to prove who has a superior mind, body, and soul, who should be Pharaoh, who should marshal things together like Jesus coming for the lost sheep to put things in their place. You go to hell, you go to heaven. Marshaling, putting things in order. All right, let me say something about going back to earlier pages. I'm running out of time. He talks about timing has importance in life as well as martial arts. I kind of think it goes without saying. He goes on to talk about discipline. I am much more publicized than most of the masters around the country or the world, but many think the 11 books I've written and the 30 tapes I've done somehow come after one day's work. However, I worked weekends, 12-hour days. Whenever I had a free moment, I knew what I wanted, and I was determined to get it. I was willing to spend the time. This is called discipline. So why do Africans talk with their hands? I'm not saying any race is superior, but I am saying some cultures are superior. Training is difficult for many people who join my school. It's after work, you're tired. You might like to sit in front of the TV and drink a beer. And if you do that too much, what kind of body do you have? It's very inviting, right? Tempting. Resisting temptation. Is that part of martial arts alone? Is it part of Christianity alone? Are they fused, kind of like mind, body, and soul? Inseparable. But if you decide to push yourself a little more now, you'll be happier later in life. As a more disciplined person, you will have brought order into your work and personal life. You've got to love how he used the word order. I'll put these pictures at the end of my book, okay? At the end of my video. What makes a disciplined martial artist? That's hard to say. But in many cases, it starts with the instructor. If he teaches you the right way with the right philosophy. Remember, religions have religious philosophies, right? He will create in you a drive to become better. Hopefully, you'll take care of the rest. Of course, religion means to reconnect, to rejoin. To rejoin to what? Nature. Harmony with nature and God. Unfortunately, there are many unqualified instructors out there who think total training begins and ends with sparring. Kind of like MMA fighting. The undisciplined martial artist will be taught that philosophy means nothing. That being competitive is the path to take. Undisciplined. Should he be an idol? Should he be celebrated? Should he have superior social status? Martial arts is not just for competition. It is for realizing your limitations and then using your discipline to wipe away those limitations. If you look at a brown belt and say he's better than me, well, he may be younger, stronger, and faster. Why doesn't he bring up form and presentation? Instead of looking at someone else, look at what you've accomplished. Now you have discipline. You've been training for a long time and you have courage, right? Confidence, courage, discipline. What do they truly mean? Are they disciplines in terms of academics? It's a martial arts school, but school backwards is looks. Now let's touch on this, shall we? Under the section of ego. Who has the ego? The scientist or the martial artist who's trying to take his rightful place so he can do the right thing? Which one is ego? Well, let's address that now, and then let's wrap this up. Ego. I have many students, and their biggest problem is to bow when they enter the dojo. They have trouble saying yes, sir, and no, sir, to people they don't know or respect. People having the most problems are degreed personnels, such as doctors and lawyers, scientists, right? They have worked hard to achieve a position and are not very willing to bow to someone else. The problem is one of ego, indeed. People with knowledge versus people who have honed the senses for true knowledge, knowledge of life, what it really is, versus good and evil from a chemist or scientist perspective. The problem is one of ego. But if they don't give up and keep training, they will reconstruct their whole attitude and discover they lacked confidence when they came in. When your whole attitude changes, you have true self-confidence and have lost your ego. Remember, heart, courage, confidence, the seat of intelligence, right? They weren't as smart as they thought they were. They didn't have heart. Then you can respect yourself and easily say yes, sir, no, sir. If you don't respect yourself, you cannot respect anybody else. If a person can bow and realize he doesn't know something or that he knows less than the instructor, that he knows less than the instructor, okay, they wrote it wrong. That's part of why I slipped, okay. He can be a great asset to the martial arts, and the martial arts can be a great asset to him. So notice when I follow the instructor, ironically, to a T, and not accept that I am greater than he is, that is when I slipped, even when I put the focus on mind, body, and soul. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. It talks about mind, body, right? I went over that. I went over the sparring, okay? I'll put pictures at the end where it talks about the difference between a kid being taught life and Jesus saying, bring the children to me, and an adult who thinks they know it all, who has worked hard for their position. As with anything worthwhile in life, martial arts takes time, dedication, discipline, a will to excel, and a willingness to accept and respect those more talented than you. Now let's look at his wife. Does he settle? Does he settle, and should he settle? No, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. I'm not lusting. But this has to be said. He does not settle. Neither should I. Sit down and shut up if that's what you think. Mind, body, and soul are connected, and beauty can be within and on the outside. Okay, moving on. Let's just wrap this up. Mastery in either art could bring a skilled practitioner respect for his graceful execution, the admiration of potential wives, and economic advancement. Each art provided a path of spiritual development that could take an exceptional adept to one of the highest forms of honor. In Africa, the status of a transcendent hero, someone who was initiated into full mastery of Ngolo, could become a special kind of ancestor, one who could physically manifest in the bodies of his descendants. Similarly, the Biafran art of Umba and its cognates could serve as a tool to achieve the highest of honors. A master of the martial art, Di Umba, who remained true to the accompanying moral code, could become a transcendent hero, the most honored of ancestors. Now, if you are the top, you are above the masters, you not only could, you will. See how you put that together with truth? Okay, here's the first part of it. I'm going to have to wrap this up. I have one more thing I want to go over. Here's the second part of it. I've gone over this many times in my videos. So now let's wrap this up. And I won't be able to go over this. I'll post this at the end. Okay, you should be seeing on the screens proof pictures at this point. Not necessarily in this order. Capoeira. Cap-A-ware-A. Where is he, right? Even though the following century may have witnessed the passing of any conscious connections between inverted kicks and drawing on spiritual power, they remained at the aesthetic core of the art's performative side in the Jogo de Capoeira. Okay, 192. From this perspective, even the brandishing of weapons by African capoeiras in some assaults and fights may reflect a perceived connection between weapons, masculinity, and honor. He, El Cho, puts the emphasis on fighting, when the true martial arts emphasis is on transferable skills, which include weapons of various sizes and not fit for one group of people, one art, etc., one body type. Thus, in their possession and frequent brandishing of knives, the capoeiras of color were defying white pretensions to a monopoly on honor. Conflicts between societies were ritually resolved through single combat of their chiefs. Above them were the overlords or chiefs of chiefs position attained only by the boldest among these, the most considerate and wise.